What up? Hey, everybody. Welcome to another week of Case Files with Kat
and Sarah. Oh, I stole it from you, Ashley. Her biggest insecurity, and I stole it from her.
We did actually see Ashley.
And I reassured her I was not taking her spot. And here I am. Totally kidding.
She actually
miss you.
She actually has a lot of work to do to
Yes.
catch up on from being out of town.
No, I saw her and I was like, wait, Kat, Ashley's right there.
No.
She was like, oh, I know, but
It's okay.
yeah, we're
okay.
Anyways, stole her spot.
She'll be back next week to give us a break from Sarah. No,
Give y'all a break from Sarah.
Thank you once again for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm very confident that this is my last show. I made us a drink, and it's a little underwhelming, but very strong.
It's a delicious drink. And
concoction. Should we call it a concoction?
We'll see how tonight goes.
Yeah, we will see how tonight goes.
It is. What can you tell them what it is?
So it's the Deep Eddy sweet tea vodka, where normally I would mix it with like a Crystal Light lemonade or a regular lemonade, which I failed to produce when I was talking about how I had the vodka, and then we made do with what Kat had on hand.
Which was a raspberry lemonade,
which is great.
We just poured heavy.
Yeah, let me be honest. Actually, let me reverse. I just made it very strong. Yeah, it melted the ice right up, which I guess helped dilute it a little bit.
But we took it the first sip and we went, ooh. All right. It's already.
But we're gonna need it from what you have told me.
Yes. Yeah, we've already had a quieter start to the night. There's nobody outside honking, hopefully.
Yeah, I pulled up thinking about those
all right
hooligans across the street.
Hooligans. God,
this is strong.
Okay, so welcome to part deux.
Yes.
Part deux.
I'm not going to make it.
Nope.
I'm not going to say French. Part dos. I'll pull up my Tex-Mex there.
Your Spanglish. So this is part 2. There's going to be a part 3. I apologize to all.
Okay.
This isn't even going to be the worst of the story, and it's a pretty bad story. Like, just progressively, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then it comes to an end in the next iteration of the story. Like, I tried to cut this down and just, nope, couldn't do it. Like we've done it before where we were like, no, you don't really need to know those parts of that story. Yeah. There's just a lot more of the same or whatever.
Terrible stuff. Yeah.
They just did more robberies, more killings, more.
This is just a lot of, he did a lot.
It's a lot, but sometimes you just got to tell it all.
Yeah. To make it make sense.
I think because there were so many opportunities for this to end.
That's the worst.
And then all the attempts that the members themselves try to leave, and this is just there's just a lot, and so I think it all adds to things. So where we left off with Roch, in the early summer of 1977, he met the young Catholic kids Jacques Fissette, Solange Boyard, Chantal Labrie, and Francine Laflamme. I really apologize to everybody if I'm butchering your names. As I mentioned,
they all sound beautiful.
I know. They're just so much cooler. They're probably like normal names.
I know, they sound good. And you said them good.
Thanks. So, as I mentioned the last time, a lot of the women who fell into Roch's world had come from similar backgrounds. So, Giselle, for example, she had the horrible, hateful mother and the absent father that she loved, but he just wasn't around. And, there's that. So Solange Boyard, I'll start with her. She becomes a very, 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 very big part of the story. She was born March 2nd, 1956. She was the youngest of 4 girls, 4 boys, 3 girls, raised by Raoul and Lorette Boyard. They lived in a dairy farm in Plessisville. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. And they were 43 by the time they had Solange. So they were older. So she was the youngest.
Okay. Of a lot.
Of a lot. And then
Gotcha.
She's of older parents. So she was pretty spoiled by all the older siblings and her parents.
The baby.
She was the baby. random favorite fact about her is that her favorite playmates were the cats that were on the farm, and she would bring them inside and play school with them.
Oh, how cute.
And they would sit in the chairs.
That
and
is
they
so
would listen
cute.
to her. And I'm like, she herded cats, y'all. She
She really
actually
did.
herded
She was out
cats.
there
She
doing
did
what
it.
we all wish we could.
I just fight like, hey, get down, go. Like all of it. I just love that.
That is cute.
So yes, she had a similar story. Dad was very tough on all the kids, but especially the boys when it came to chores. And if you didn't get your chores done and not to the level of his expectation, he would just be super verbally abusive. And so that just was like on everybody in the family.
Yeah.
He was just horribly mean. Only one of the 7 kids, Doris, was said to have been close with her dad. That's it. Weird. When Solange was a toddler, Dad started drinking, and those tongue lashings got worse and worse, and he drove every son to quit school early and move away off the farm.
Okay, peace out.
Nobody stayed. His drinking was so bad that when he would go on like drinking binges, he would be gone for days.
Oh, and I bet they were relieved that he was gone.
Well, then
while he was gone.
then somebody would walk his ass home, and then he'd be on a he would just be horribly verbally, emotionally abusive, just awful. As a teen, Solange told her friends that how much she hated her dad, and she could hear him rape her mom. And so she used to hide in her closet to stay really, really quiet because she was afraid he would find her. There weren't very many kids left in that house. So she was just like, he's coming. He's coming for me.
Don't want his attention.
But at 18, she was a fairly pretty girl. She had long brown hair. She enrolled in a 3-year business administration course, and she lived in an apartment in Thetford Mines, which is where Roch was living. She lived near the school, and on the weekends, she would take the bus home to be with her mom. But by year 2, she had met and befriended Jacques Fissette.
Okay.
And he was sort of this, like, he didn't get into a lot of trouble, but he was just sort of like fun to be around, young person. You know, he was 20 and just harmless fun. He brought something different into her life.
Carefree.
Yeah, a little bit carefree, you know, just kind of wandering aimlessly though as well. They started to hang around, her family started to be able to tell like, oh, she's stoned now. Typical like 18, 19-year-old stuff, right? Yeah. Like, oh, she's stoned. It's like, come on, it's the 70s. And
your dad was an abusive alcoholic.
Right. And you're in college. Yeah. And you're in your own apartment. Like nothing that...
Let me live my life.
Yeah. They weren't like worried about her at that point.
But
they
just
like,
knew she...
Yeah. Then they started to hang around.
That devil's lettuce.
Then they started to hang... Right. It's delicious.
10/10 recommend.
Then they started hanging around Chantal and Francine Labrie and Francine Laflamme, who knew Solange. She was older than them by a couple of years in high school. So she knew them. They didn't hang out. But then post high school, they started to hang out. So Chantal was born March 30th, 1958. She was the second oldest of 6 children. Catholic family, you know, every sperm is sacred.
I guess.
And she lived about like 10 kilometers in a smaller little town from Plessisville. That's how it's spelled.
I trust you.
Plessisville. I don't know. During her senior year, she got mono, so she was out of school for weeks.
Yes.
That must have been so awkward for senior. And so she got really into healthy eating, vitamin supplements.
Try to help her be better.
She started to do the natural food thing. So she started going. Right. That's the entryway, right?
Health. I'm just kidding. I know.
You know?
But, you know, kind of not to be silly or anything, but like kind of that one way, focus driven, obsessive. Regardless of what it's about, but that passionate obsession.
Yeah. I mean, it's
of whatever topic, but
whatever. Yeah. You just you're
obsessive.
The blinders start to go on.
Yes.
And so, so she's not only is she super religious, now she's doing the health supplements,
Yes.
and you're a cult member waiting to happen because
you kind of already are.
Those two things are starting to match.
Yes, check on a list.
If you have a PVC pyramid in your backyard with energy crystals and like a Tesla coil that you think is going to give you energy. You know what I mean? I know those people. Okay. Yeah. So she was kind of a gawky girl. She was like this tall, lanky. Her eyes were set really far apart. So like very like slothy, you know, like that sort of wide-eyed. So she was just incredibly shy and would just slink into the corner. Like, don't talk to me. Even when she was among her friends, she would kind of start staring off, and her head would tilt, and she just kind of had this like weird, airheady kind of gaze, like, huh? So she was just sort of just different.
She was malnourished.
She was probably malnourished. She was like,
she was hungry. She was hungry.
She was just super shy. Okay. Francine Laflamme was like the exact opposite, just super outgoing, kind of like an exhibitionist comparatively. But she had a reputation of being easy with the boys, you know, started having intercourse probably at 13, 14, was doing soft drugs, so pot or whatever. She felt like she was doing all of that to sort of mask her own insecurities. She felt that she had a very like masculine face. So she had kind of a square jaw, and I'm going to post a picture with little name tags so you can see
who all these are.
And it's like, oh, I thought she was very pretty. But then I'm like, well, I guess if I had to look at myself like that, like square jaw, sort of, I get that. I have one of those, and it's like the sort of a wide forehead. I didn't see that.
Just but, not typical feminine,
soft and round, right? And so, but I thought she was pretty. Anyway, but she had decided she was going to go start a fashion designer course at a local junior college. So she had plans. She had plans for herself.
It's so funny. All these boys in this story, like, quit school at 7th grade. And then all these girls were like, continue their education. And then they're all in this story about a cult.
They're all end up in the same place. So, but the friendship with Jacques and the others got her involved and Chantal involved with the mentor from the Seventh-day Adventist church. So he started to go to their houses and introduce himself to their parents before beginning Bible study, because he was kind of like, I want them to be able to come and not, because at first they were like, I don't know, I can't come drive to you, so let me, so that he was trying to ingratiate himself with her parents. But Chantal's parents saw right through him, and when they met, she was just like asking him questions, and one of the first things he says is like, I've seen and done, this is a quote, I've seen and done everything in life except murder. But hi, Mom.
Hi. Yeah.
I've done everything but murder people. Yet. Yeah. Well, that's kind of where my mind went, is like, that, okay, Mr. Want to know it all. And that's the worst, like seeing it, because you can't say anything, especially to your teenage daughter. That's exactly what
so it's like, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. So
it's almost like you rather be blinded right off the bat. And then, you know what I mean? Because you're going to start fighting as a parent. You're going to want to fight that from the get-go. Just what torture. Sorry.
And their whole thing was like, we wanted to be the progressive parents. She's technically an adult now. Yeah. She's graduated
We want to support our child.
If you tell your kid
you can't do something, or
you're going to want to do, you're going to have high school kids in 4 seconds.
Yeah. Don't
and
cringe.
We are going to have like,
I know. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the nightmare. Like when you see your friend in a bad relationship, but you can't say anything because you'll get pushed away.
Yeah. They'll isolate you.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Side note.
So anyway, so they would start asking him, because they are also very religious, and he's very anti-Catholic. If you remember, they're Catholic. So she started trying to kind of probe him about his beliefs and his practices with the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He'd only been SDA for
A minute.
Not even 6 months at this point, right? I mean, like not long at all, but he'd rose to the top really, really quickly. If he couldn't answer or wouldn't answer, he would fall to his knees and start chanting.
Okay.
Like, what?
Just,
I
know what that makes
started
me remind me?
Laughing.
That reminds me of the story of the woman who said she was all the things just a few weeks ago, and she jumped on the back of the couch and started squawking like a bird.
Oh,
when she was supposed to be a shapeshifter. And it's like, just derails you so much that you're like, fuck it, never mind.
What?
Yeah.
Get off
Forget
the couch.
I asked.
Get off the couch. There's another, and I don't talk about this later, but he was impossible to argue with as well, because what he would do is if you started to argue with him about anything that he was saying, he would not argue back. He would just close one eye and stare at you with the other one, like intently.
And then you get so like weirded out, or you're like, whatever, you idiot.
Like, yeah, you just walk away. Just, you couldn't argue with him.
Okay, that I'm going to use. That one I'm going to use. Taking notes.
So he realized Chantal's parents were like a no-go, so he never went back there. But Chantal started getting into Roch's teachings, and her parents could see her getting darker and sadder, and she would carry around her Bible, and she would just cry randomly. It was so sad. So instead of driving to see the young ones on the weekends, he convinced them all to spend the weekend at Giselle's newly acquired one-bedroom apartment without Giselle's knowledge or okay. He was like, oh, come on over, make yourselves at home.
Oh.
So she was guilted into letting them crash because God would want her to help these poor children, you know. And then the girls obviously started to be attracted to Roch. And I mean, they're like, oh, he's so confident. And, you know, he was just eating it up. And he was smart. He was very smart.
Yeah, and
manipulative. And so he was just eating it up. He told them their mission was to help people eat right, free themselves from hate, and bring God into their daily lives. So they were just proper hippies at that point.
Yeah. I almost said the Chamber's mission statement whenever you started that.
Champions for God and eating right and free yourselves from hate.
Oh my gosh.
So soon, Roch introduced Nicole Ruel to the group, and she was born May 20th, 1957. Her mom, who she was very close to, died in 1975, and then that was just sort of the end of who Nicole was. She dropped out of 12th grade. She was so close. Started drinking, doing drugs. There was a suspicion that when she moved to Thetford Mines, that she started to do sex work and got into heavy drugs. And so she was out smoking one day, and Roch saw her and invited her to come to his not stop smoking clinic. And she was like, okay. And within like a few weeks, she was moved into the apartment full time, not just weekends.
Did any of these people actually quit smoking?
Yes.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some,
because it would be funny if none of them quit smoking. Yeah. They were all like just chain smoking.
Roch, that was one thing.
Okay, so he hated it.
Once he quit that,
okay,
not drinking, but once he quit the smoking, he was just like
hated
it. Anyway, she was in there within a few weeks. So that same month, Claude, I don't know how to say his name, Claude Huyette.
Okay.
Sure. He was an unemployed 24-year-old. He was high on drugs. He went to a discotheque and saw Francine Laflamme, tried to pick her up. She was with a couple of the other girls, with Chantal and Solange. And he tried to pick up Francine. She wasn't really having it, but they started talking about Seventh-day Adventism. And he was like, this is what he said, quote, I was tired of hanging around the same old people and being stoned. I wanted to move on in life. Why, dude?
I know, so sounds like the dream.
No, he did do like hard drugs too, but like not habitually. He was a drinker and a pot smoker habitually, but not not like the harder drugs. So he was the kind of guy who would try anything once. That's what he said.
Let's give this cult a go.
That's not how they said it.
Okay.
They said it was a religion.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, and since drugs weren't doing the trick, he thought maybe being a non-smoking vegetarian Bible person would. He said he had a friend who became a Baptist, and that worked all right for him.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. Yeah.
He didn't know any Baptists.
No.
So walking around,
this'll do.
And this chick's hot. So let me just follow them.
That helps.
And so anyway, he ended up at the apartment as well.
Hey, finally they got another dude though. I mean, the ratio was a little.
I know. So you have Jacques, Claude, and Roch. Okay. Soon Francine Laflamme brought 2 more girlfriends from her school days, Maurice Lambert, who was 18, and Jose Pelletier. Sorry, guys. And she was 20, and they were both planning on going to secretarial school. So this is the summer. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have our cult summer and then go to school in the fall.
It's like a gap year.
You know, I had summers. My friend Linaja and I, we used to do like, this is the summer of shits and giggles.
Okay.
And so we had that, and we had like the summer of studs, and then like
I like that.
Yeah, we all had we had a good time.
Okay. And then you get your shit back together,
and then
go to secretary
and then
school.
you go to you start life. And of course, Giselle was not having a easy time with any of this. Roch told everyone, make yourself at home. They were all teenagers. They lived at home. They didn't do anything. Their moms did everything. Yeah. So she just took care of everything. She became like their mother. She cooked, she cleaned, fixed clothes.
Yeah, and it's her place.
And they just sat around the living room being preached at by Roch and giving massages to each other. Ugh. Well, she's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, pick up your socks, I don't know if they wore socks. I feel like they were wearing Birkenstocks.
I was going to say, I feel like they're barefoot.
Or in Birkenstocks. Yeah. So then in July 1977, during a Seventh-day Adventist retreat in this beautiful landscape, Roch met a former nurse named Gabrielle Lavallee. Sure. Mm-hmm. She was born New Year's Eve, 1949. 2 years younger than my mother. Wow. Her parents couldn't afford to raise her, so they sent her to an orphanage just to get her out 3 years later. She was excited. She was at a Catholic orphanage with, the nuns. The nuns were super strict. She just remembers them. But her mom was just as strict and favored her brother. So she'd have to do all the chores, all the cooking, cleaning, and then brother would just get to sit around doing nothing. I know how that feels. It sucks.
Yeah, trigger warning for that
for me. Yeah. I was like, oh girl, I know. Anyway, her father was an alcoholic and died of pneumonia when she was 5, but he and another man sexually abused her from the time she got back from the orphanage until he died. So
God bless it.
Yeah. So
None of these people.
I know. She finished high school. She got a nursing degree. Lots of in between, but she ended up traveling to Paris. She worked in Paris at an ER, ended up traveling Europe. She fell out of love with the nursing because she felt like it was chemical therapy. Like, there wasn't enough holistic.
Okay.
If something could be done naturally, that should be an option. And so she stopped being a nurse. So she ended up traveling through Central and South America and Europe looking for herself. And she ended up in Toronto, where an old friend of hers from her nursing days was living. And they were like, hey, let's go to this Seventh-day Adventist retreat. We can work as chambermaids and live in this beautiful scenery. So she's like, all right, I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist person, but I'll go. And Roch saw her and
sunk his teeth into her.
And it actually was a lot of work. So he spent his entire time trying to get her to follow him back to Thetford Mines. Someone high up in the chain in the SDA church was invited Roch as his personal guest and was like immediately annoyed because he, again, hadn't been in the SDA church for very long. And he was immediately talking about all the things that needed to change. He was like, Jesus, boy.
Yeah. Like
you don't know
place.
anything.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Know your place.
Right. Like, we're spending too much money. Why do you have this resort here for SDA? Blah, 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 blah. So someone I think it was him that actually saw, there was one incident in particular. He hiked up. So Roch was hiking up a mountain. And this was an incident that later in an interview, he was like, I knew then something was not good with this person. And it comes into play later, the sort of like, he saw the beginning of Roch, the cult leader.
Gotcha.
So Roch was hiking up a mountain to pray by himself, but made a big show of it. Like, nobody look at me, nobody watch me. And like,
but watch me,
but don't watch me.
Yeah.
No one was paying attention to me until I said, nobody look at me. And so he then claimed that the sky opened up, turned a bright white, and God spoke to him and claimed that that the spot that he was sitting on was now sacred. So the man's name was Saintus. That's his last name. Immediately thought of the story of Moses, which in his mind made him think Roch had crossed the line. If you're saying that basically you have a personal contact with God and you're some kind of prophet, holy person, that was just too much. That was crossing this religious line. So Gabriel shows up. She decides to join him. Took a lot of talking her into it, but she decides to show up at this tiny little apartment, and immediately no one likes her. She's like one of the least liked people in the whole group, because she thinks that she's smarter and better than everybody, more refined.
Because she probably was.
Well,
in a sense,
yeah, but she was older.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, she's older. She has done some things, and you have teenagers.
She was like, "Let me tell you about my travels." No,
Gotcha.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Like, just
so she was a little pompous on top of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was very condescending to the other girls. She would always talked about how smart she was. She thought she was the prettiest one in the group. Like, so she said that out loud. She's definitely the prettiest one. Like, goddamn. And she just was annoying. And then she was especially annoying to Giselle, because Giselle was the mom of the group, and here comes this person. And she was also the stepmom to Roch's 2 kids.
Yeah.
And she's cleaning up after all these other kids, and she walks into her bedroom and she sees Gabriel reading goodnight stories to the 2 kids. And she was like, "Get the fuck out of my..." So she was pissed. But she would also try so hard to get Roch's approval. She would snap. She would tell on the other people, like, so-and-so didn't do their chores or whatever. So she was like a real tattletale. And then if she saw Giselle stand up or like talk back to Roch, she'd be like, "Who do you think you are talking to him like that? He is our leader." You know, like, ugh, God, nobody likes that person.
No.
Nobody likes that person. No. Anyway, so this is when Giselle made her first attempt at leaving.
Okay.
She did.
Yeah,
So
I'm impressed that she had stuck around this long.
I mean, this is early. This is early though. And within a few days, Roch called her. As soon as she heard his voice, she returned. But Pastor Zita from the SDA church was concerned as well. He felt like that little apartment now looked like a refugee camp, and it was making the church look bad because he was supposedly the leader of these kids, but none of them had been baptized as Seventh-day Adventist yet. So I was like,
all these nomads living under their kind of group.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
So Roch decided to change these one-on-one non-smoking clinics to be seminars, where he would end it with a vegetarian buffet of bean curd casserole, lentil soup, and carrot cake.
Oh, carrot cake.
Yeah, carrot cake. And so these were free stop smoking seminars, and this bounty of vegetarian, healthy living food. And then after everyone ate, he'd be like, "By the way, donate money to help us continue this work." And so then everybody would be full and happy and feel like they got something. And people were donating $20, sometimes $100 for the experience, right? So they started to make a lot of money. He was making up to $3,000 a week.
Oh, that's huge.
Yes. With the help of all the people cooking and and they were getting the food like for nothing from the SDA church. So the church is like,
"Hey, wait a minute.
This is great.
Oh, okay.
You're bringing more people into the church." So they're kind of seeing, but he's not telling them to become Seventh-day Adventists. He's just like, "Stop smoking. And
Give me that money."
But they were helping him. They regret it. They were helping him though, to be a cult leader. So one of the places they traveled was a town called Sainte Marie. It was a town of 9,000 people. And I'm going to butcher his last name, Jacques Guiguer, sure, and his wife, Maurice Grenier, 24 and 23, respectively. They met Roch, and Jacques was just spellbound. And Maurice, poor thing, just had to follow. Right. Because she's like, well, my husband wants to do this and I'm a loving wife. They would eventually sell everything they owned, giving Roch the proceeds. So there's so many people. We just need like a whiteboard with all the red string. Soon now they have all these parents of all these children living in this 1-bedroom apartment. You know, like they're all up in arms. Chantal was sent to a psychiatric facility by her parents. Roch broke her out of it.
Oh my gosh. I'm getting stressed out.
I know. Let's have a drink.
Let's have a drink. Strong, but let's have a drink.
I know. Woo! Claude's parents are trying to get him to go to an optician. I can't say this. Opticians college. Say that? Like for optometry?
Okay. Sure.
Optometry college. Okay. And Solange's mom had a nervous breakdown, like literally a nervous breakdown, when Solange told her that she was not going to go back to school to finish the 3rd year of this business course. Then Pastor Zita got involved, making things so difficult for Roch. So Roch found some land in Sainte Marie, moved his little group there. They started a little health clinic with a health food store, and you could, the people who came to the clinic could stay there. They were so proud. There's a picture of them. I mean, they just accomplished something huge. This was awesome for Gabrielle because she was a nurse. So this is exactly what she wanted. So she was on cloud 9, and they were all feeling like loved and they belonged. They had this tribe of like-minded people who were all following this person. Maurice Grenier had the hardest time fitting in. Unlike Gabrielle, she wasn't relentless. She just kind of would rather be by herself. Okay. She wanted to hang out with her husband and then not hang out with everyone else. She didn't like fit in. So she was quiet, but she also this wasn't her thing. It was Jacques' thing. And so she didn't really fit in with everybody at that point.
Which sucks because I'm sure she doesn't want to just leave her husband, not like leave him, but like she wants to be there because
it's them or me.
Yes, exactly.
It's them or me.
Yeah. So she has to be involved to some degree because I'm sure he would be like, okay, honey, peace out. Bye.
Because you're basically saying.
And then I'm sure one of those people.
God or me.
Yes. And one of those ladies would have moved right in. So yeah, she has to sit there.
Oh miserable. No, they were all for Roch. They were all for him. Ugh. Not my type.
No.
So to make Giselle, the SDA church, and all the families happy, Roch was like, okay, we are kind of living a little crazy. We have this place now. How about if I do what Giselle's been asking me to do for all these years and marry Giselle? Let me just look. I'm marrying her. We're like this little family. We're like the parents.
We're legit.
Right. Yeah. So they piled into a truck. But there was no honeymoon. And on January 8th, 1978, they piled into the truck on the way home from the wedding with Giselle on the mattress in the truck bed while everyone else was sitting in the cab with Roch, all the other girls. Like, how humiliating.
What? Oh my God.
And she just cried back there.
Oh my God. Yeah. Because I'm sure she wanted I bet the marriage was very important to her. You know what I mean?
This is the winter, January 8th in Canada.
Oh, in Canada. Christ on a cracker. Like, that is crazy. That is crazy.
How much do you think that man wanted to marry her?
Oh, my God. Ugh. Again, women.
What a dick. So soon, though, the merchants of Sainte Marie started to complain about Roch not paying his bills. They were, like, wanting to lynch him, basically. But the cops were like, I can't do anything about his bad credit. Don't give him shit.
Yeah, don't support him.
Lesson learned. But in March of 1978, a local resident with leukemia named Geraldine Auclair was taken. I don't know if that's how you really say it. It looks like Eau Claire. I don't know. Yeah. Was taken to Roch's compound with her husband's consent. And Roch told him that he could cure her and that the medicine the doctors were giving her was killing her. After about a month, though, Geraldine was dead. And Roch had not let any of her family see her. Hold on, let me do it for you.
Thank you.
And
Oh my gosh. This is like that other story y'all did about the woman who had her weird ass broth camp tomato place. Tomato broth or something. I listen, but I don't retain.
And the silver, the one that did all the silver turned blue.
Yes.
Yeah, crazy things, crazy. But after she died, there was no evidence that Roch technically killed her. She was
like a cancer.
Very, leukemia is hard to cure. But he did say that he kissed her and briefly brought her back to life.
But don't worry. I did kiss her, bring her briefly back to life, but she still died.
But she died.
But there was hope.
God wanted her home, so there was nothing else that he could do.
Why would he even tell people that he did that? But like, what's the
But wait,
point?
I kissed her. She came back to life. And then she died again. God damn it.
It's this close.
So close.
Kind of worked.
So also at this time in
What
19
a narcissist,
I know.
right?
I know. Also at this time, a 19-year-old girl named Gabrielle Nadeau with MS also moved into the clinic with her parents' consent. And no one really knows how she was being treated, but he was allowed to have her. And that was just kind of... So as I'm telling the story of all the other things that come up between now and the next time you hear about her, she's bedridden while everyone else isn't. And you just think, they're sleeping in tents. They don't have a roof over their head. And then there's this girl who's bedridden with MS just kind of hanging out. And they're supposed to be taking care of her.
Healing her. They're supposed to, according to her parents, they're supposed to be healing
So just
her.
kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
I don't think I want to.
So a month after Geraldine died, citing Roch's failure to get any of his new followers to become SDA through baptism and has nothing to do with the death of this person, the church voted him out, and he was took a lot, and he was so fine with that. So, well, we don't have a church giving me legitimacy, so how do we keep this group together? I know. Let me make everyone marry each other. So Jacques and Maurice Grenier
But like
are
in
married.
reality, they could just be they don't have to do any of that. They don't need a church. They don't need to marry each other.
He's
like,
just flying by the seat of his pants.
my gosh.
Totally flying by the seat of his pants. So he had Claude marry Solange and Jacques Fissette marry Nicole. No one was happy about the arrangements. Like, these were not first picks, at all. Poor thing. Claude was like, I was kind of hoping Francine.
I was going to say, couldn't they have just picked?
I mean, so Solange didn't want to marry anybody. And so Claude's like, great, she doesn't want me to touch her. Like, this is great. Like, I'm like, oh. So it just took a long time. Giselle, as it turned out, was not happy about being married, though, either.
Shocker.
Because she said that making love to Roch was like making love to a fridge.
Out of anything to say compared to a fridge.
A fridge. A fridge has food in it. Guess what? There's no food in your house. Anyway, so
She was hungry. That's why she was thinking of a fridge.
He was large and cold. Just there to get the job done.
Oh my gosh.
When she said that she was going to leave for the second time without even a beat passing, Roch just punched her in the face.
Like literally.
There wasn't even like a breath. She was like, I'm leaving. He was like, pop, just popped her and left her bloody and bleeding.
My God.
He kept her locked up in a room for 2 days.
Oh my God.
So that people wouldn't see her face.
Oh my God.
So he has local merchants mad. His wife is trying to leave him. The church voted him out. So he isn't getting cheap food to make all that money anymore. So the parents are all pissed off. They're all trying to involve the authorities all the time. This happens for years and years. They're always getting involved. So Roch decides to move the group again. And this time they ended up on an isolated foothill with a 4-hour walk to the nearest road. Remember the bedridden person.
Okay. Oh my God.
He told the group that he would, that the world was going to end February 17th, 1979, and that he, Roch, was appointed to be God's personal emissary. In retrospect, like, you're hearing this in like chunks, but this is happening over like
right.
a
No, I get it. No, I
I
understand the progress of like when you're in it, you don't see it.
Any abusive.
Yes. No, I'm not judging any of these people. I'm just saying, like, of course he was appointed by Jesus himself. Like, that's God. God.
So he designed and had everyone else build an
of course
octagonal log cabin with a well right in the middle. They started to build in July and they had to be finished by September because, winter. And so they worked dawn to dusk. They'd have to bring in supplies from that 4-mile road. So that was difficult. So the 4-mile walk. So Roch started to ration their food. All right. So they never ate breakfast. Their lunches were way too small. And then if Roch said they misbehaved at all, their portion at night would be cut. So they were living on nearly nothing sometimes.
And that's another thing with cults. They do. This is like, that's a very common thing of the food rationing, withholding.
Yeah. So they're exhausted, malnourished, they're isolated. And anyway, Roch decides to change all of their names to biblical ones. He's just checking off all the boxes, y'all.
He really is.
To that same month, I'm reading this. This is coming from the Savage Messiah book. That same month, to symbolize the group's break from society, Roch assigned biblical names to each of his followers based on their ancient meanings. His wife, Giselle, became Esther, which means star. Everyone's going to learn something today. Solange became Rachel, lamb. I will never call them these names, by the way. Gabrielle became Thirsta for charmer.
No.
Not really. Francine became Hogla, which meant partridge. That kind of comes in. Hogla.
Okay.
Nicole became Deborah, queen bee. Chantal became Ruth, companion. Josie became Noah, Noa, which means comfort. Maurice Lambert became Sarah, princess.
Oh, I knew that one, just so you know.
Sarah.
I knew it was Sarah. Sarah, princess. I've been that since I learned that when I was a child.
I know that.
Go on.
Maurice Grenier became Rebecca.
That's my middle name.
Ensnarer. You're a princess ensnarer, by the way.
I did not know what Rebecca meant.
But, she didn't like Maurice Grenier. He didn't like Maurice Grenier. So her husband, Jacques, became Nathan, what God gives. Claude became Boaz, the one with strength. Gabrielle Nadeau became Makla, which means beauty. And Jacques Visset became Joshua, of whom God is salvation. Having led his tribe into the wilderness at God's instruction, Roch decided to name himself Moses.
Okay.
Going back to what that guy said, he was invoking.
I was holding my breath that you were literally going to say Jesus. But Moses.
And Jesus. Mm-hmm. So I didn't even mention there were other families that actually joined the commune. And this is around the time a lot of those people started to bail. They joined in Sainte Marie. And then it was like, so there was a Yolande Guinebert returned to France. Leo Marc Foucher, who gave his life savings to Roch.
Oh my gosh.
Loaded his horse-drawn wagon, walked off with his wife and child.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
And I bet he heard from his wife till the end of time about how he gave all his money away. God
damn you. Roch would just say the devil got him, and that was it. So they became evil. So they could no longer think, let alone comprehend what's happening to them. But how does he know how to do this? So they kind of go through a description of Jim Jones. Like, he was doing the exact same things that Jim Jones was doing.
But he didn't know that. I don't know. I honestly, like I said in last episode, I truly believe it's deep rooted in their souls. They're just evil, bad people. And it's just that power of manipulation.
It's crazy because they really thought that they were doing God's work. And he used their piety against them. That's so sad.
So crazy. But we also have gone through most of their stories, and we know that they were all vulnerable. They all didn't stand a chance in with their upbringing. So it's like, how does he know it's the wolf and the sheep?
But everybody who comes into contact with Roch, and there's so many doctors, so many people who are like, he seems fine. He's fine. He's perfectly sane.
Because he's manipulative.
And it's because
he can manipulate those, like he can manipulate it.
And that talent shouldn't be overlooked. Like that is, when we start going, how the hell?
Yeah.
So then Roch decides that Giselle shouldn't be the only one to have the super sexy fridge sex. Can't keep this Maytag away from
this refrigerator,
this LG,
Oh my gosh.
So she was 6 months pregnant. She was saying, I think the girls are kind of lonely on the compound. He was like, oh, I can solve that. She goes, that is not what I meant. So he started to have these rendezvous while she was working 6 months pregnant. She found out about it, was really fucking mad. And so she was like, I'm leaving. He goes, fine, leave 4 miles that way. Go ahead, prego. Or you stay here and I'm your master and you do what I tell you.
And she stayed?
And she stayed.
God
damn. You will do as I say, he said. Soon Roch annulled all of the marriages that he had
done. Oh, yeah, of course.
That he had made happen. Everyone was, except for Jacques and Maurice Grenier. But Claude was upset about this because he didn't necessarily want to marry Solange, but now he kind of grown to love her. And she was pregnant now with his baby.
Oh my God. And he's like, y'all have to divorce.
And he was like, no, you and Solange.
Y'all aren't working.
Yep. You guys aren't a good match.
That's not right.
And so he was like, well, fucking hell.
I kind of like her.
I like her.
She's asking how's my baby.
The other women, so Solange was the last one to sleep with Roch. She was not easy to get. But she had a lot of issues. I mean, she was the one that was hiding from hearing her mom being raped. She had a lot. She was uncomfortable with men touching her and that being that sort of, that kind of intimacy. Mm-hmm. But the other women, however, were like writing him love letters. They were fawning over him, competing for his attention. Gabrielle, for sure, was like thought she was the most attractive one. So she was like, I'm going to get him all the time. But when Roch took her to bed for the first time, he was like, no, you're just giving me head and you're not allowed to kiss me. And if you want to masturbate yourself, that's fine. But we're not going to have sex unless I'm just trying to get you pregnant.
Manipulation, because he knew she was willing.
And that's what the sadists do. Sexual sadism.
Yeah.
You want me?
You can't have me.
You can't have me.
This is what I'll give you.
And then
manipulation.
And that is
control.
He's getting his rocks off just on that.
Exactly.
It's gross.
Ugh.
But I'm not even gonna say it. So at this point, the holistic style is bye-bye. Bye-bye. He's eating meat. He's eating potato chips.
I can picture him having like a steak and greasy.
He thinks he's also really funny. So mentioning steak, he would when he had this whole. I mean, it's a dumb joke. I don't even understand it. It's such a Canadian joke. I don't know. He goes into a restaurant where he planned with the owner, where he walks in looking like a homeless person because he did. Picks up someone's steak off the table and puts it in his pocket, and the customer's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was probably like, hey,
what you gotta do with that?
I'm sorry, but that's my steak. And so he got really, really mad, and the owner's like, haha, it was all a big joke. Steak's on me. And I'm just like, what? I don't even get the joke. I don't even get the joke. He thought he was really funny. He thought he was really funny.
That's just him manipulating an owner of a restaurant to get
and he got a fucking steak out of it.
He's like, hey, we'll do this every Wednesday.
I know. I got a steak in my pocket. Is that a steak in your pocket? My eyes are not my best feature. Anyway, so he made the women all sign up for welfare. And so he was making $1,400 a month. And then he rediscovered alcohol. And then that was it. The shit hits the fan at that point.
Oh my gosh.
If he was drinking, he would binge for 2 or 3 days. I'm not sure how people do that.
No, I cannot understand that at all.
Sunday fun day comes to an end, y'all.
Yeah.
I don't know. He sometimes
can't.
wouldn't sleep and continue drinking the next day. If he slept and didn't pick up alcohol again, they were fine. But it was just like
how sleepy do you get if you drink too many beers, vodkas, anything? Like, I'm like, give me them potato chips and that steak. I am passed out.
The snoring, the whole thing, right? But he would start to go on these religious tirades, and if you went to sleep,
manic.
You would get beat. He would beat you.
Oh my God.
Oh, you ate 2 pancakes, Hogla.
That was her name.
That was her name.
That's terrible.
That's the only time I'm going to use her name. Poor Francine. Hogla.
From Francine to Hogla. Yeah, that's
so he broke 2 of her ribs.
Oh my God.
Oh no, that was Maurice Grenier because he didn't like her. Hogla. She was pregnant at the time.
Oh God.
Yep,
Oh my God.
Yep. And Jacques, I know. So Jacques and Maurice's son Samuel also bared the brunt of Roch's awful tirades. He was 2 at the time. Any child that wasn't his own was treated horribly. Roch considered them animals in quotes, and they were kept away from their parents. The other children knew to call them slaves, so they weren't like there was a hierarchy of children.
Oh my gosh.
Roch made him sleep in an unheated workroom when he was an infant.
Oh my God.
When he cried, and I'm sorry, this is
I told
you
the disclaimer you gave me earlier. So terrible.
There's just all the trigger warnings, y'all.
Okay.
When he cried too much, Roch made his dad roll him in the snow until he was purple and his penis swelled up.
Oh my God.
That's just one of the children. And that's just one of the incidents of abuse. Roch would make the adults strip naked and go outside for hours. If they complained, the punishments would get worse, but they would always thank him and apologize for their transgressions. And when I say like punishments, he shot at them, he stabbed them, he'd hit them, he'd break bones, he would starve them. They would have to go out and stay outside for hours.
Oh my gosh. Well,
sometimes they'd have to cut a hole in the ice and jump in the water.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure they apologized because they wanted it to end. You know what I mean? Like,
so he told them that it was God when he was drinking, telling him to do that, and him giving them that attention and hurting them was ridding them of the devil. So they were becoming more pious. They were getting favor from Moses.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So just to give you a snippet, this is yeah. Oh no, Hogla was Francine Laflamme. I apologize. This is from Maurice Grenier. She was Rebecca. And Snarer. That's right. That's right. Pappy. So Giselle was Mammy. He was Pappy. Gross. Pappy, I must request your forgiveness for the squalling noise my children made while you were taking your bath. Please forgive me for having disturbed your bath. I love you, Rebecca. She was the only one that didn't go flowery. Let me give you an example of flowery.
Okay.
Hello, Pappy. I'm writing about what you said on the subject of nutrition. This is Hogla. Francine. It is very true that I nibble, a damnable fault which I will never again repeat. The thought of ingesting such a large quantity of food, 2 pancakes, in so little time discourages me, even if I work outside the entire day without eating. I ask that you forgive me. If it is stealing, I did not realize it. It is this fault which causes my plumpness.
Oh, I'm sure.
I do not want to be a fat and plump servant. That is too ugly next to the man that you are.
Ugh.
You're fridge, dude. I don't know what to think about everything and the meaning of my actions. I only know that I will not repeat them, and I don't speak lightly. I wish to be a true servant to you, my master, alert, vigorous, with a clear and lively spirit, and well balanced to serve you every moment of my life. I have a long way to go. Thank you, Pappy. I love you, Hogla.
Do the Kevin. Thank you. Black.
And then Maurice Grenier's like, yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
your
my
bath got interrupted by the swallowing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Maurice Grenier had talked about leaving the commune, and Roch made Jacques cut off her pinky toe with an axe.
Holy crap. Did not expect that. Like, I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, he hated Maurice Grenier.
That really escalated.
You're like,
this is all really escalated quickly.
It does.
It really does.
We're only in 1979. So here comes February 17th, 1979, the day he predicted the world would end. And guess what?
Okay. It did not.
It didn't end.
It didn't end.
We're still here.
Yeah. Well,
he explained that, well, 1 second could be 40 years in God's time. Okay.
God and his calendar and his timekeeping.
So the math got mixed up.
Yeah, the math ain't mathin'. Sorry.
Made sense to them.
Of course.
Chantal's parents, though, were trying to end the commune's hold on their daughter, and they got a court order to remove her. The police showed up, and he was like, over my dead body. And so they were like, well, there's nothing we can do.
Damn Canadians are too nice.
They couldn't, at that point, forcibly. There was just two of them. They couldn't do it. Yeah. So, but they came back. So in March, one of the founding members, Jacques Vissette, decided to leave the group. He gave an interview to a Quebec City newspaper and said that everyone there is happy and free to leave if they wish. And that's in quotes. He left not because he was dissatisfied, but because he was curious to discover the outside world. Right.
But why is he still trying to
Because they found him. They were trying to get Chantal out. So they're grasping. They're trying to get the police involved more. They're trying to hello, there's this group. They're not just hippies,
But he left.
He left.
And he got out.
He got out.
Obviously. But why was he still so nice about them?
Don't know.
They're happy. They're, even if it's in quotes or whatever, that ending, why was he?
I think if you talk to him today, would he still feel like that?
Yeah.
Or would he be like, oh my gosh, I had to be deprogrammed too? Because that is part of it.
No, I get it. But what
is it called?
The Stockholm Syndrome?
That's it.
But he got I don't know. Why was he so, because he's Canadian. That's why he was so polite. That is why he was so polite.
Canadians are so nice.
So nice.
So, anyway, the police weren't impressed by the articles. They swooped in, arrested Roch for obstructing justice because they did have to swoop in. Come flying in. And they sent him because he was 4 hours away from the road. So they had to helicopter in.
Yeah.
And they sent him to a psychiatric hospital.
Okay.
All right. You think this has got to be it. No, nay. They tried to fly in all of the parents at this point to talk to the kids that are on the commune. They weren't having it. They wanted to get the adult children, their children out. Didn't work. On April 30th, 1979, he was released and they were told that he was A-okay. He was sane.
Oh my God. And I'm sure he was even fucking crazier.
But that Shelley Notek story, I talked to my friend he's a psychiatrist, and he was just like, that's the kind of person you don't want in a psychiatric
because you
hospital.
Can't help him. And because he manipulated everybody while under,
everything else.
Captivity. But, whenever he was in there, he tells everybody what they want to hear. Master manipulator.
He is bright and charming and funny and
and I'm sure he loved the attention in there. I'm sure he acted crazy and then progressively got better. He was just
him.
Yeah.
So for the others, the followers, it solidified that he was the real deal.
Oh my God.
He's not crazy. All these doctors don't think he's insane.
Oh my God.
He has personality disorders.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
I know. He was just over here. I petted him.
Soon he had the team building. I forgot to. Oh,
I know. He's as stressed as I am.
I know you don't like this story.
I know. It's stressful.
So soon he had the team building another story on the log cabin. They made a smokehouse, 2 greenhouses, a stable, and a prized storage room where he kept his secret stash of alcohol just for him. Oh, and then there was like his like. God, you're so sad.
I know.
Come here.
So question, how are they, oh God, he's like, touch me, but don't touch me. So how are they making their money? Is that a good question?
They're not really making money right now. They're selling, like, they're making their health foods.
Okay.
They're, doing,
because they're so far out.
That's so far out.
A lot of these cults or whatnot, they go to farmers market with their products.
So some of them, they made bread.
Yeah.
They did do like some bread. They do things like that, but they didn't have a lot.
Okay.
So right now they're on welfare.
That's right.
And he just was a swindler.
Okay.
And so they were getting things from people all over the place. So
I'm just like, how is he? I know my alcohol habit is expensive. Like, how is he paying for his alcohol? You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
But I forgot about the welfare.
So the girl with MS,
Oh no. Okay.
October of 1979, died. Again, there was no finding of wrongdoing on Roch's part, meaning they couldn't pin the murder on him. I'm sorry, Socks. He must have felt untouchable. He must have felt
He really, oh yeah. 2 people dead now. He's been in and out of a psychiatric hospital. How long was he in that hospital?
Just a few months. Okay. So in November of 1980, a man named Guy Veer is brought to the commune on the recommendation of that psychiatric hospital.
Oh, holy fuck. Each thing is more and more surprising.
Roch took him in, but made him eat and sleep in the storage shed, unheated. A few months later, Roch presented him with a contract that he could move into a small room attached to the house, provided he would watch the children that were not Roch's. And so he said, yes, because I don't want to be in this fucking storage shed anymore. Okay, come here. Oh, God. Can you just stay put?
He's like, let me walk all over this table with all the things.
Don't delete my thing. Okay. And so for 24 hours a day, he was a single dad to these children. He had to feed them, change them, clothe them, all of that, plus all the work outside that Roch was making them. So he hardly slept at all.
Oh my gosh.
So these were still
And are these kids of like babies to toddlers to children?
Yes, so Samuel was 2.
Oh my God.
Like,
oh my
remember.
God. Yeah.
Okay, so like these are babies.
And I bet
to
they
toddlers.
were like asshole little kids too.
Well, they weren't treated well.
Right.
So the parents were not allowed to love on them or anything like that. So it was just, yes. So that's like the worst part.
Yeah.
So they were literally little animals.
Ugh.
So he said that parents weren't allowed to show them any affection because that would interfered with their devotion to God and Moses.
Oh my God.
If they loved their parents more. So that's gross.
I just don't understand.
On March 23rd, 1980, Roch Jr., 12, and Francois, 10, the ones that I mentioned earlier, they had begged their mom to move in with Roch. And so she let them. Francine let them. And so they moved in and Roch had a big party. Everybody but Guy Veer and those animal children were invited. And so everyone's drinking, having a grand old time. Something happened and no one knows for certain, but Guy Veer hit 2-year-old Samuel 5 or 6 times in the face.
Oh my God.
When Roch found out in the morning, he assigned Gabrielle, the nurse, to care for the baby. Everything seemed fine. She was giving him like a little mixture of like, honey and water
Whiskey.
and sugar and stuff like that just to kind of, help him. But he seemed fine. He was awake. Giselle said that other than the bruising, he looked fine. But that night, Roch told everyone that he was going to circumcise Samuel with a razor blade.
Holy fudgesicles.
The ethanol used to sterilize
Oh my God.
her face, y'all. Hold on.
I'm like, I'm just going to pet Socks over here to take all
the
my stress.
ethanol used to sterilize the equipment was given to Samuel through one of those rubber bulbs up his nose, and they shot it into his nose.
Oh my God.
He died of alcohol poisoning. To cover this up, Roch has Samuel's dad, Jacques, incinerate him so that the bears and animals wouldn't dig him up and eat him. But really, that was just to cover up the crime.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do Kevin again.
Okay. I know that guy is so sad. So later that year in September, during one of his drinking binges, Guy Vier pissed him off. And Roch decided he should stand trial for Samuel's death. He made everyone play being in court like it was like Law and Order. Dun, dun. Jacques was the judge. Giselle was the prosecutor. Claude was the defense lawyer. Gabrielle was the coroner.
This is like the cold case crackers when we get together.
Cold case crackers. The jury was Chantal, Francine, Nicole, José, and Maurice Lambert. They found him not guilty by reason of insanity because no shit, he came from a psychiatric hospital. I'm laughing because it's fucking ridiculous.
Because it's so ridiculous. I'm not laughing at anything else, but it's
bizarre.
So bizarre.
A few hours later,
the fact that they just what was the purpose of the court? Probably
he's drunk.
No, I know, but he's probably okay, this guy's guilty. I'm mad at him. And
I killed him.
They fake a court to say he is not guilty. That is what is bizarre.
Roch wanted him to be found guilty.
Correct.
Roch wanted him to be found because he was the one that killed Samuel. Yes. So he was like, let's put this all on him. This crazy person.
The fact that they did fake court to only say,
listen,
not guilty.
A few hours later, Roch changed his mind. And said, no, those jurors are no good. Guy Vier needs to be castrated. So he held...
We're spiraling here. This is getting out of control.
It is. It gets worse. Okay, I'm just telling you.
That's so crazy. Okay,
so he held another hearing. This time he had his 12-year-old son be a part of the jurors. That's a hard word to say. So he voted yes because dad told him what the right thing to do was. Anyway, Roch told Guy, he talked him into it by saying, those headaches those headaches you've been complaining about. I don't know how to do a French accent. He was like,
I don't think that was it.
It's your left testicle. That's the problem. All of your headaches will go away if you get rid of your left testicle. Duh.
Your head won't hurt because
your balls will. So Roch convinced him to write a letter of consent, and he did. And so this comes from page 1. We're only on page 158, y'all, in the book.
Oh my gosh.
So months later, 2 hardened Quebec police investigators. This is 2 months after this event.
Okay.
2 months later, 2 hardened Quebec police investigators, winced and shifted uncomfortably in their seats as Vier recounted the operation. This is Guy Vier. They asked me questions about what happened with Samuel the night I hit him. Afterward, Moses explained to me that my headaches could be caused by the pain in my left testicle, and he offered to take out my testicles because I had hit the child and because of what had followed the hitting. He explained to me the hierarchy that existed in the group. In relation to this hierarchy, I was a slave, and following the removal of the testicles, I would become a sterile eunuch. I accepted, and I signed a consent form. Moses told me that if I did not want to sign, he would not make me. He made me take alcohol, about 2 or 3 glasses, and he installed an elastic band around my genitals. I lay down on a table in the house of Moses. Everyone in the group was there, but I don't remember about the kids. Moses performed the operation, assisted by the nurse, Thirsta, Gabrielle, and I did not feel any pain. After the operation, the nurse Thirsta took care of me until I was well again. Since that operation, I do not have any more headaches, but on the other hand, I do not get hard-ons anymore either. I also don't have any more sexual desires.
Scream, Kevin, crying out loud. Oh my God. This is all over the place. So
Gabrielle says, Vier never complained about headaches again.
Yeah, no shit. Oh my God.
So Roch was worried Vier was going to tell on him. obviously. So between the 2 months of the operation and when he did talk to investigators, he was threatening him with violence and torturing him all the time. And so anytime he was drunk, he would torture Guy Vier, and even at one point tied him up to like a stake and told his followers to take up knives and just start stabbing him. And they all picked up knives.
Oh my God.
And just before they started stabbing, he stopped
him
and started laughing like, you motherfuckers were about to do that.
You crazy assholes. Y'all were going to do it. Y'all were really going to do it. What a psycho. Like, how crazy.
Could you imagine being Guy Vier
No.
going like, oh my God, everyone's going to kill me. If he wasn't crazy before, he sure is fucking crazy now.
Okay, so quick question. How did the authorities get involved with the 2-year-old's death?
So on November 5th, 1981, Guy Vier escaped and told a villager about Samuel's death. So he like walks into a store and he's like, hi, there's a dead baby.
Yeah.
And they're like,
I might have I beat him before he died, but I didn't kill him.
sir, this is a McDonald's.
Yeah, I know. Sir. Did you want a Coke or not?
After
Oh my God. I'm only laughing through my trauma
I know
from
this
this
is
story.
what this is
and
really...
our strong ass vodka drinks.
So after a month-long investigation, police took Roch, because they did interview everybody. Police took Roch, Jacques, and Maurice Grenier into custody. A day later, they found the charred remains, and the 7 remaining children were taken and placed into foster homes. And this was Roch Jr.'s testimony. He turns out to be a fucking wild person
I
too.
can't even think about it.
mean,
Whose child was it again?
Roch Jr.?
The baby that died.
Jacques and Maurice Grenier's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you participate in the vote to castrate Guy Vier? Yes. Do you know the significance of castration? Yes. It is to cut off the balls. What was the reason for the castration? The main reason was the death of Samuel, which was caused by Guy Vier. How did you vote? I voted yes. Why? Because one of his balls was sick. He was having trouble breathing, and also because of the death of Samuel. Did you assist in the operation? Yes, in the operation on one ball. The second one. Who did the operation? It was Moses, assisted by the nurse, Thirsta. With what? With a razor blade. Did anyone else help? I remember that Rachel, Solange, held the head. I don't remember about the others. Did you see where the testicles were put? Yes, they were in a Kleenex. Just so matter of fact.
Yeah.
He's 12. He's 12.
God almighty.
On Friday, December 18th, the court found Roch, Jacques Guiguer, Maurice Grenier, Gabrielle, and Guy Vier responsible for the death of 2-year-old Samuel. Others received charges like obstructing justice, but all but Roch and Jacques were released on bail. As the new year came, Roch had Giselle rent a large house that had sat abandoned for years, but was close to the jail. But the women would only get their children back if they didn't live with Giselle. So they started to find their own places. They were trying so hard to split them up, break up the bond that Roch had over them, but it didn't work. Ugh. On September 29th, 1982, they were found guilty on all counts. Jacques and Claude got 6 months and 3 years probation. Maurice and Solange
For the
murder. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
As accessories. They didn't do it, but they helped cover it up. So like all those other things, right? Gabrielle got 9 months. So Maurice and Solange got 3 years probation. Gabrielle got 9 months in jail and 3 years probation. Roch received 2 years in jail and 3 years probation. A week later, the judge acquitted Vier and sent him back to the psychiatric hospital. So with Roch in jail, authorities torched the compound and bulldozed it to the ground.
Okay.
I mean, we're moving.
Talking, yeah.
Like they were trying to end this.
Yes.
But it
and
didn't
my
work.
hopes
It
are
didn't work.
non-existent
No.
because I know there's a part 3.
There's a part 3.
Yeah.
So Roch still had control and would tell Giselle that it was her responsibility to keep the group together. She was Mammy and he was Pappy after all. But after a while, Giselle went to Solange, whom she did have a little bit of a competition with, right? She used to feel the most jealous of her. She said, why don't you take over? why don't you be lead wife? And so Solange was like, okay. And so on the next visit, Roch was fine with that. He said, okay, you are now the lead wife. You're still Mammy, though. You're still the like grandmother, right? You're still like, she's the grandmother to all those children and the mother to those other young girls, you know. So after the sentencing, Roch moved farther away. So the phone calls were more frequent and necessary. He was calling collect, y'all. So if anybody remembered, if you're too young, you know what collect calls were. It cost the person who answers money, and those got expensive. So their welfare checks were just dwindling to those phone bills. Hello, they're already hungry. It was during this time that the family members tried again to get everybody home. Only Solange was the one that wavered. Shocking, right?
Wow.
Shocking. She called her family to tell them she wanted to come home. So they all traveled to go get her. And then she changed her mind. And then 2 days before Christmas, she called again. But this time her mom was like, look, I'll buy you a bus ticket. It's there with your name. Come when you're ready. She never came.
Oh.
As Claude, Jacques, and Gabrielle got out of prison, they moved into the house with Giselle, and then they all moved to Quebec City to be closer to Roch. So when he wasn't calling or writing his followers, he was recording his 367-page autobiography.
Oh, God. Could you imagine?
God, it's bullshit. A ghostwriter got it down to 173 pages.
Let me just filter out all this bullshit.
But there were 5,000 copies printed in November of 1983, and it was called The Moses Affair.
Okay.
God, yuck. So Roch was released in February of 1984, and he quickly moved into Giselle's apartment. He immediately talked about going back to the wilderness, but the others weren't so sure. They were like, oh, can we not live like that again?
Can we not live in the woods?
He told them this time would be different. I'm not going to drink anymore, blah, blah, blah. Giselle suggested a compromise. How about we get a big farmhouse that has running water and electricity and is like near a road, you know?
Near civilization.
And Roch's like, And so all of a sudden he shows up one day and he's like, I got great news. And Giselle's like, we have a new house? He's like, better. I have one better. I have a whole forest. So she calls up everybody, tells them to pack their bags, and they start all over. So on May 18th, they show up to this 200-acre landlocked piece of property that had bad soil, was 2 kilometers from the nearest road, no proper road to the property from anything adjoining the property. So the team got ready to work quickly once again, but this time Roch had designed a sawmill to make the cutting of the timber. Hey, that's one thing. And a treadmill fashioned to get water from a nearby stream.
Oh, okay. That's running water.
But they'd have to go there to do it. They had a pony that they used to truck to do all that.
Oh my gosh.
So 4 wives were pregnant at this time because he was allowed conjugal visits.
What?
He killed a baby.
Oh my God. And impregnated 4 women in that small amount of time.
They're so polite. They're like loosey-goose.
Damn you Canadians in the 80s.
The 4 pregnant wives were made to work just as hard as the others, and within 5 months, they moved out of their tents and into the home they built. Solange was responsible for the books, making sure everyone did their chores, and she was also Roch's closest confidant. Giselle was the surrogate mother to the other wives and now grandmother to all the babies. Chantal was Roch's personal chef and also washed his clothes and laid them out for him. Nicole worked under Chantal and had to keep Roch's room clean. Did I mention they were all wearing tunics at this time?
No.
Oh, really ugly brown tunics. Okay. Anyway.
Even Moses?
Moses had the dark brown tunic. Okay. Everyone had beige.
I knew he was going to be different than that.
Yes. Everyone else was in beige, and he wouldn't allow them to wear bras.
Okay.
And they weren't really a fan of that. Francine was Roch's masseuse and bather. She also had to prepare everyone else's meals and was in charge of the bakery, HOLA. The bottom of the totem pole, the outside workers were José, Maurice Lambert, Jacques, Greek, I don't know how to say his last name, Jacques, Claude, and Gabrielle. So Roch established a new hierarchy of the group, assigning each of his wives different responsibilities. So that's that. There's the beginning and then there's the bottom, right? Roch also convinced Jacques that a birthmark that she had looked like 666, and eventually ordered her to live apart from everyone else in her own hut with her own 2 children until Roch later accepted her oldest daughter into the main group. Ugh. So she wasn't allowed to sleep with her husband anymore. She's just her and her kids. They're treated awfully, and she's still made to work outside all the time.
Although, I would kind of be relieved to be by myself. But I know
you're not getting
punishment.
You're not getting the food. You're not getting the
I know.
rest. Your children, I mean, just awful. So the little town where they lived, people started to come and visit. They were like, look at these industrial people living off the land, working hard.
Wackos.
They're working hard. So people actually helped cut timber. People brought food. People would help them. And then they would be like, oh, thank you for helping. Here's some firewood. And so like, there was like this sort of give and take, you know,
polite Canadians.
They were being polite. And so they had no idea of the past from Quebec. So like, they didn't know anything about, they were just like,
didn't know the crazy.
They didn't know the crazy. They were regarded as eccentric, but hardworking.
Right. I'm sure they were like, oh, they're a little odd, but look at them. They're doing their own thing. They're not hurting nobody.
But all the women started to sign up for welfare, and it started to set off some alarms. So Victoria County had different ideas about welfare than Quebec. The group was refused funding on the basis that they were a group. So they couldn't get individual welfare. They were an institution rather than a family. This only served as proof that the outside world was hostile to the group's way of life, and it just reinforced their isolation. That's all it did. As far as Roch was concerned, if they weren't going to help out with money, then they were going to take what was rightfully theirs. Okay. So he ordered them.
Stick it to the man.
He ordered them to start shoplifting, and they started to create those like long jackets with like super deep pockets. Okay. And on January 31st, 1985, and he told them it is our God-given right. Okay. So they believed it. On January 31st, 1985, the police caught Jacques shoplifting. Nearby, they tracked down Gabrielle, Claude, Nicole, and Roch Jr., who had 50 feet of rope coiled around his waist, by the way. Between the 5 of them, they had lifted $453 in goods. Their sentence was to be banned from shopping in Lindsay ever again.
I thought you were going to say like 18 years of prison, like more than they got for murdering the baby. Right? But okay, so now they're in a pickle.
Can't come here.
Yeah.
Right. So Roch encouraged his followers to hit up their parents. This after years of telling them their parents were evil. They were, basically being told what to do by the devil. Don't talk to them. They didn't do anything good for you. They did nothing but hurt you.
All of a sudden, they need them.
They need them. If they agreed, the group would have money to continue living its way of life. But he had brainwashed them so well that they would actually cry and beg for him not to make them do that.
Like, yeah, don't make me
do that because they are awful. The typical response, of course, was, yeah, you can have money if you come home.
Right.
And so then they wouldn't get any money. So the group began selling fruit. They found a place that sold fruit cheap, and then they'd bring it back, and they started to set up those like on the road fruit stands. Then they would make pastries, tarts, things like that. That proved to be successful. So they started a little company, and they were called the Ant Hill Kids because they worked like ants, just as a team. No ant left behind, I guess.
And I'm sure he told them that as like a compliment. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. They felt
we're such hard workers.
They had to live on corn and potatoes.
Right.
But they were making
Could you imagine
bread and pastries.
Pastries?
How did they not sneak shit? God.
I was
So
drooling
now-
just at the word pastry.
I know, Mom.
Like,
Nice
could use
apple
that.
pie or something.
Really
right?
use that. Danish.
So they're making money. They're doing okay. They're not. This is a nice, calm period of time for them.
Okay.
But he got bored.
Does not surprise me at all. From the chaos you just explained before the going to jail and kind of dismantling.
Just balls everywhere, testicles everywhere.
Like all that chaos, and then having to rebuild from that. I have no doubt how out of his mind bored he is.
He was. And so he started drinking again. So when he was drunk, he'd go on at length about his treasures. He had worthless costume jewelry. He loved his jewelry. And he would dress up in robes like he was a king and have all this jewelry on. And he'd be like, how much do you think this is worth? And then they would have to say some amount.
Ungodly amount.
And if he didn't like the answer, he would beat them. It was this whole thing. And they dressed him. He never dressed himself. Ugh. He would also pit the wives against each other. And if there was a conflict, he would make them strip and they'd have to fight each other. And there was points given if you got hit or if you stepped out of the box.
Oh my gosh.
And then he'd make the men be in the middle and all the women hit on the men. And these are women who are working in the fields, who are logging, they are strong and hungry.
Yeah.
And they want
Moses'
approval.
And there's deep-rooted anger that they don't, deal with. So I'm sure it was
they don't. They're not even accepting it. But then Roch would be like, okay, I'm going to fight, but you can't hit Roch.
Right.
And if you did,
then oh God, I can't even imagine.
The rules were different. Of course, he would cut your food rations if you hit him. He was such a wimp.
Yeah.
Sometimes he would beat or whip his followers. Sometimes he would strike them with the broadside of an axe or with a hammer. They were forbidden to ever go to the hospital. Sometimes he would urinate on them, force them to perform analingus on another, or smear themselves with others' feces. That was his favorite thing to do to Gabrielle. Once he slashed Jacques Guiller's jugular with a broken wine glass. He also ordered Jacques to be circumcised, and it was all removed. And again, this had a cathartic effect on his followers. He had punished them for their sins, and now they were purified as a result. I'm not really.
I don't get it.
This is very weird. Didn't Jesus die for sins? So
yeah,
that
like
you
we're
wouldn't-
good. Yeah, you
so
just
you wouldn't have
accept.
to.
All you got to do is accept them into your heart. And
I know I'm not
like
that kind of Christian, but isn't that
that's what is funny about all. Like, I don't want to say funny about it all, but I guess it's all certain.
I don't know.
Certain
He's the
teachings of
emissary.
Christ.
He's the emissary, I guess. Yeah.
But I do believe in the Bible somewhere it says y'all, I'm going to do this, so you're good, right?
You're good.
You just accept me.
That's what.
And I'm dying for your sins. Has to be a quote, a passage of
Somewhere.
whatever.
Somewhere.
What's it called?
You're a Christian. Shame on you. So, but the next day, Roch would, shame on you. You go home and you read your Bible. Y'all motherfuckers need Jesus. So Roch would always weep. When he sobered up, he would weep, and after all the alcohol had left his system, and he would beg God, Master, stop using me as a vehicle for cruel justice. And so he would just, why do you make me do such things? So on January 26th, 1985, somewhere shortly after 9 a.m., Gabrielle put her 5-month-old baby, Roch's son, Eliezer, in a wheelbarrow. It was snowing, and the temperature was -10 degrees Celsius, which I looked that up.
Cold.
It was
cold. To us Texans.
Teens degrees in Fahrenheit, 14, I think. By 10:45 a.m., the baby was dead.
What?
Roch had hated the child and said it bore the mark of the devil. He had beaten it, and Gabriel thought that it would be an act of mercy for the infant.
Oh. That makes it even worse.
She did a lot of crazy shit.
God almighty.
The county coroner, Al Lackey, a friend of Roch's, claimed that it had been sudden infant death syndrome. He died saying that. Like he went to his grave because that man probably is not alive anymore. But years and years later, he would say, nope, it was SIDS.
I can't even understand that. How are they even like, so I'm just picturing them kind of off on their own. No one would know unless they told them. You know what I mean?
There was a two-way radio that people did get. They were trying to, like the children's welfare people,
That's right. They were trying to have assistance.
They were trying to be the good guys so that the wives would be like, Mayday, Mayday. Right.
Gotcha. Yeah. And open a communication, whether they used it or not.
They had a two-way radio for emergencies. Here's some blankets. Here's some food. And they made regular checkups on them. Mm-hmm. And they didn't trust Roch for shit.
Okay.
But they wanted to take care of those women and the children.
In the sad hopes that they do.
So they called for help. And then Gabrielle was like, it was SIDS. He was sleeping and it was SIDS. And so that's what
and it was really hypothermia, right? Like she took him outside.
It was really hypothermia. I mean, yes, he died.
I can't handle it.
So the County Children's Aid Society began watching the commune at this point like hawks. And that is where I'm going to leave the story tonight.
Thank you. I am welcoming this ending. I'm so stressed out.
I went really fast, but a lot to get through. The tunic wearing craziness.
Crazy. So crazy. Okay, so here's what I'm scared to ask. Ashley's going to be back next week, and I assume she's going to do a show. She's going to do her story.
I know, and then we have weeks off. Oh my gosh, I need to finish this. I think
here's what I'm scared to ask. Will I be here for part 3? Like, that's what I'm really scared of.
I'll give you a break.
Well, okay. Because I know Ashley's going back out of town. So I just had this horrible feeling I will be back for
We'll just wait 3. For part 3 until she's gone and you're back.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
No.
Put me out of my misery. Do it with Ashley, please.
She's going to be like, what the fuck? I mean, like, this is literally, so I've cut this book into thirds.
It's so crazy.
It is so crazy. And I got through it, but it does come to an end.
Okay, thank God.
It does come to an end.
It's sad that it hasn't already.
I know.
That's terrible.
I know. And we're not far. You know, we're not far from the beginning of the end, but there's so much that has to happen.
So we've lost a cancer patient, MS patient, 2 babies, one of his own.
Mm-hmm. And lots of testicles.
More than one testicle.
That
guy went back to the loony bin, right? I hate to even use that term, but
yeah, he went to the psychiatric hospital.
They just
right. But Claude, so there's a picture of Claude and Jacques, and it says, so that's Guy Vier right here.
Okay.
That's a psychiatric hospital. That's Claude right there.
Okay.
And then there's a picture of the 3 guys. Oh, God, he's so gross.
Can you imagine being Guy? Like, get me out of this place, and then please take me back to this place.
He circumcised Jacques and removed one of Claude's testicles. So that's Jacques. That's Claude. Yeah. We are, it just starts to get crazy. And there's more people involved. I know it starts to get crazy. When he makes other polygamists look not so bad, you know, it's like, wow.
Right. Yeah. This is the real deal.
But they're part of what brings it to an end too, you know?
Okay.
Because right now I feel like he's spiraling out of control. And he feels untouchable.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning of the end. It's going to get worse. But it is coming to an end. after reading and going through this process with them, you know, they interview everybody, and I've listened to and I mean probably in the 90s, maybe in the early 2000s, interview with Gabrielle. The fact that she left when she did, it took so much. It took so much for her to leave. And, you know, working in a domestic violence agency,
Right.
you just see like the power that somebody has over you. And even when you leave, that all they have to do is look at you. That I know, Socks,
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
he's over here.
All they have to do is look at you, or you hear their voice, and you're so programmed to follow. And how, like, in court, they just had to not look at it.
Yeah.
Because that's just too difficult to do. Because
Well, with the little education I've gotten through the years of being involved with your organization, knowing like the average of 7 times before they actually leave, blah, blah, blah. So like when you said she left
the first time,
like I knew sadly that
I need to count how many times that she actually does leave.
I'd be curious.
I think it's over 7. I think that she just kind of keeps going, coming back, and she doesn't say exactly how many times.
Yeah.
But it is mentioned that it was, and then she did it again, she did it again, she did it again. But then it was always bad when she came back. No. And all of them tried to leave at some point, except for 3. But
well, they're already like, and we've talked about this 100 times, like how their lives are so impacted. Like you can't just walk out and leave. And yes, there's family who would welcome you back, but like they can't handle some of the psychology, you know, or psychiatric problems, this trauma. You know what I mean? So even if they did make it back to their families, chances are they would have turned right back around. Like it's just so crazy, and it's not easy.
Some of their families never got better from why they left in the first place.
Yeah.
Some of their families didn't want them back with their illegitimate children or with whatever happened to them. Some of them didn't know how to handle psychologically, emotionally,
easier
mentally.
to just cut them off.
And then, but none of them did. But it was still just it's hard. And then you think that you're going to be judged. You think that
you've mentally been ruined. You know what I mean? Like manipulated. Like your nothing is rational.
Your education was just stunted. All of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
And you've been brainwashed. And no one's has the remedy to unbrainwash you right away. You know what I mean?
And you're going to hell.
Yeah. Not to mention all the religious psycho babble that has been put on top of it.
That guilt, the Catholic guilt, you know, like, man, he knew how to, my mom was really good at the Catholic guilt. Those guilt trips, man, I started to become really like immune to them. Yeah. Because it was just like,
okay, I get it.
Yeah. You know, like I'm going to go spend the night at my friend's house. Like, fine. You know, it's like, Jesus, you know what?
Bye. I'm glad leaving.
Now I'm glad I'm leaving.
But you know what? That's the type of person you get, one or the other, right? So these people that he probably let walk away, because let's be real, the people who left, he let them leave, right? Realistically, he let them leave probably because he knew he couldn't manipulate them anymore. So might as well blame the devil on the people who are still here. And because he didn't cause an issue, it really kind of moved on. You know what I mean? So like he's honed in on the ones that you can't fix. And they're fixable, but like, you know what I mean?
In the next portion, I'm really going to talk about what post the end of this story, how even after all that happens, that doctors still go, he's so bright. He does so well in jail. He's hardly disciplined. He doesn't seem like he's a danger to society after all he does. And I've mentioned he has shot people and stabbed people, and he tortures them and
castrated.
He's castrating. He's killing.
Murdered.
There's a list of,
and that's all the physical stuff.
That's just the physical things. He actually This book. Okay. You know what?
I know. I'm sorry. I just kept the dialogue going.
This is, I'm going to read this next time. I'm not even going to do it.
No.
It starts here.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
It goes. And this is just, there was that one time, and every sentence starts, there was a time he did this. There was a time he did this. There was a time he did this. There was a time he grabbed a piece of broken glass and ran the sharp edge along Claude's left arm from his shoulder to his arm, slicing it open.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's just crazy. The next sentence. There was a time he did this.
Absolute chaos. Just constant chaos.
This person is not a danger to society.
I know.
Because he's charming.
I know. And that's the thing.
And
it's
smart.
Like, if you can recognize his charm, which is another word for manipulation. Like if you can, if you can recognize that, how can you not realize?
Look at the breadth of the case against him.
I mean, come on.
It's really crazy.
It is. That is crazy.
And so, you know,
incomprehensible.
And I'll talk about the people who were supposed to be the sort of outside observers. And he was like, oh, you're all French Canadian. You know what it is? They're all against us French Canadians. And he said, it's because we're French.
Oh my gosh.
And then he used this, we're just trying to be French out here. And so he gets them to be like, yeah, I'm French. And it becomes this, you guys are just being anti-Francophone is the term. And then he just manipulated these people, and they were like, he's fine. You should bring all the children back to the commune. And the judge was like, is
anybody paying attention here?
Did you
Hello?
Did you not hear the child say the things they said? Did you not hear?
Did you not hear that 2 died?
I mean,
crying out.
It gets worse.
Oy. Okay, bye.
All right, everybody. Well, God, this has been a long episode. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
But this is a crazy ass story. And
it sure is. And the fact that I've never heard of it.
The fact that none of us have ever heard of it. It's crazy.
It is great.
So, again, Savage Messiah is the book and is what I'm using. It's insane. And poor Jason.
I know.
It's just having to hear all about it.
I know.
Because some of it makes me laugh. Because I'm like, oh my God, he says these things that are just insane. Like the whole, like, it's having sex with the fridge. That made me laugh out loud.
That made me laugh out loud. That really made me laugh out loud.
Because he's like, I
actually feel bad for the wizard because I know I like bursted into laughter too close to the microphone. So I'm sure it's going to like blow out his eardrums. I won't.
Eardrum. It's one ear.
Yeah, I know. And here I am ruining it.
One time I was like, you need to protect your ears. And he looks at me like,
are you trying to make fun of my one ear?
I love you, wizard.
We love you, wizard.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Ashley will be back. Poor
Thank
thing.
God. I'm giving her spot back. I tried to take it at the beginning, but I'm giving it back.
Aren't you so sad you're not going to be here for the end? Don't you want to hear the end?
No, I'm going to listen to it gladly on my own with a stiffer drink than I tried to make today.
She's just doing shots. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.